All right, combustion is the last of the 5 reactions that we have to learn. It is the easiest to predict because when we were balancing the other day, when we were just practicing balancing, I told you everything makes CO2 and water. Okay, we recognize them by the fact that there's a hydrocarbon, which is carbon and hydrogen, plus oxygen. And then they're always going to produce CO2 and water. It doesn't matter if you put, there should be an arrow there, I see that. Oh well, okay. So, let's practice. Remember when we were balancing them, I gave you that little trick of always check and see what needs to go in front of water. Because if it's odd, it's not going to work because whatever you put in front of O2 is always going to be even. So we don't even have to think about this. It's going to make CO2 plus water. Let's go ahead and do that one. CO2 plus water. So I want to check my hydrogen, and I need a 4 to put in front of water, and that's even, so we can proceed. And then how many do I need to put in front of CO2 to balance my carbon? 3. And then how many total oxygen do I have on the product side? 10. So what do I put in front of oxygen? 5. Done. Okay. Sometimes you have to play around with them to get them to work, and this next one's going to be an example of that. When I look at that, this is an alcohol, an OH group. It's basically a hydrocarbon with an OH on it. It's an alcohol. Specifically, this is propanol, which is the kind of alcohol that's in rubbing alcohol, like when you get a cut or a scrape. This is what you would put on yourself, or this to sterilize. So if I look at that, I have how many hydrogen in that formula? 8. So what do I need to put in front of water? 4. So that works so far. How many carbon do I have? 3. So I need to put a 3 right here. So how many total oxygen do I have? 10. So what do I need to put in front of oxygen? I can't because of that little oxygen right there. It makes it all discombobulated, so it won't work. Okay. In the real world, I could use a fraction there, but we don't do that in here because that confuses the masses. So what's the easiest thing for me to do? We're going to say, that's not going to work, that's not going to work, so we're going to try 2 of them. Now will it work? So now I need, well, how many, well, first of all, let's rebalance hydrogen and carbon. What do I need to put in front of hydrogen?
8.
I need to put an 8. Okay, and then I need to put what in front of carbon? 6 in front of CO2. Now I have a total of how many? 20. So what do I put in front of 9? Because 9 times 2 would be 18, plus the 2 right here. So now we're balanced. So we just have to sometimes you have to play around with it a little bit. Okay? We'll do 2 examples from the packet because we've been doing stuff from the packet. Before we do that, these are just things that I want you to kind of recognize. These are the first names for the first 10 hydrocarbons: methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane, etc. The general formula actually to be able to do a hydrocarbon is CnH2n plus 2. So if I told you something was a hydrocarbon and it had 4 carbons, you could figure out how much hydrogen is by the 2n plus 2. Okay? All right, let's do the next 2 examples. Butane. I forgot to say I was going to write. C4H10 plus oxygen, O2 when it's by itself, always making the CO2 and the water. I check my hydrogen first. It's a 10. What would I have to put in front of water to get that to balance? 5, and that's odd, so that's not going to work for us. So what are we going to do? Bump it up to 2. Now how many do I need to put in front of water? 10. And what do I need to put in front of CO2? 8, because I have 8 carbon. Now how many total oxygen do I have on the product side? 26, so I put 13. All right, one more. Hexane, C6H14 plus O2 yields CO2 and water. Easiest to predict, right? All right. I have, what would I need to put in front of water currently? 7. That's odd. We don't like that, right? So bump it up to 2.
14.
Now I need 14, 12. So I have how many total oxygen on the product side? 38. What's half of 38? 19. Now we're balanced. Don't let big numbers in front of those scare you. Okay? And that may be one of our shortest lessons in all of chemistry. Done.